Welcome back to our conversation with Republican gubernatorial candidate Mike Kennealy, the former state secretary of Housing and Economic Development during the Baker administration. And Mike, when you were in that job, you were a cheerleader for the housing reform bill that Governor Baker got passed that includes the controversial MBTA Communities Act. That's the measure that requires communities served by the T to allow for more multifamily housing. Now, the Healey administration has denied state grants to communities that refuse to comply, fought for the right to enforce the law in court. Would you do the same as governor?
I would not. And John, I was a cheerleader and a proponent for something called Housing Choice. And that was a key initiative of Governor Baker. And all that did was lower the local approval threshold for rezonings from a supermajority to a simple majority. And that was consistent with our view of the problem. We have to produce a lot more housing. It's got to be in partnership with our cities and towns. And we have to create an easier path for them to produce housing.
But the MBTA Communities Act was a Baker initiative.
It was not. It was not. It came out of the legislature. So it wasn't our idea. We didn't propose it. It came out of the legislature.
Did you support it?
And when it landed with us, we said, okay, how can we make this as flexible as possible for our cities and towns to comply with it? And how can we, again, make this a tool in the toolbox for cities and towns versus a hard mandate, if you will? And I have to say, I'm amazed at the way the dialogue has evolved on this one. It has been way too contentious. And the administration has doubled down on threats and mandates and lawsuits. Well, what they should be doing is working with their cities and towns to help them deliver the housing they want.
Yeah, but isn't NIMBYism a major obstacle to the development of more housing?
Well, that's why we thought housing choice was the most important thing to do. If there's a majority consensus in a city or town for more housing, they should have that housing. But this for us was all about partnering with cities and towns to help them deliver the housing they wanted. Not mandates, not threats, not lawsuits.
So the migrant crisis and the crisis of the state struggling to afford to house them and keep them safe in that housing has been a major news story. It's actually part of a larger problem with our immigration system and laws. You know the background. A bipartisan plan to change our immigration system was killed by then candidate Trump and his congressional allies. Would you have supported that bill, and would you support some type of amnesty for people who are here illegally but are otherwise law-abiding?
I tell you what I support is a much more secure federal border, and we have that today. We didn't have that in the Biden administration. The problem we have with the migrant crisis today is that we had a humanitarian crisis in some of these countries. We had a largely open federal border in the Biden administration, and we have us as Massachusetts, the only one of the 50 states that's right to shelter. So what I support is a much more secure federal border, which thankfully we have today, and reforms to right to shelter, where it's consistent with the original intent of that program, which is to house Massachusetts families that have become homeless. We've gotten a long way from that.
I've got less than a minute here, but I'd like to know what it's kind of like your elevator pitch here for voters. What's the single most important thing you'd be doing as governor to stem the exodus of younger workers from this state?
It's back to the things I mentioned before, addressing an affordability crisis. I mean, people can truly not afford to live here sometimes based on housing, energy, and taxes. Having a great future for everybody in the state, which means a great education system and a pipeline to our key industries, and government people can believe in. That's what I'm about. Look, I'm in this race because I love public service. I love Massachusetts. I want to serve the people of Massachusetts and lead our state forward.
Good luck. You got your work cut out for you.
I sure do.
We'll look forward to talking with you many times.
That's great.
Covering your race, and then if you're the nominee, maybe a little debate with Governor Healey.
Anytime. Sounds great.
Fall of next
year. All right,
year.
John. Great. Thanks so much.
That's Mike Kennealy, Republican candidate for governor. That's all our time for now. Right now, I'm going to send it over to my colleagues for more WBZ News.